the wind speed has kept on increasing for the last 1 hour or so. We have seen that the weather has only grown rougher. This really is the tough phase of Cyclone Biparjoy. We can see the kind of violent impact that the cyclone is having even as the landfall has begun. Here at Devbhoomi Dwarka, the wind speed has been rising. We have been lashed by incessant rainfall, for the last 1 hour or so. The sea has also grown violent in the last 1 hour. In fact, the visibility has dipped so much that it is difficult to show you the violent sea which is right ahead of me behind my video journalist. But you can imagine the kind of impact that these winds must have had on the several installations and on the infrastructure on the coastal region of Dwarka. We have seen that, here in this area at least, several poles have come down, canopies have come down, trees have borne the brunt of the violence that Cyclone Biparjoy has unleashed. We are seeing that as the landfall has begun. This has only increased the speed of the wind, making it impossible for us to stand here. The sea, which is at least 100 meters away from here, the sea water is traveling all the way across to here. Salt water on our faces, in our eyes, lashing us like a whip. This is indeed the fury of Cyclone Biparjoy. As we try to stay steady, it is increasingly difficult. I think I have lost the audio as well. I don't know if you can hear me, but I seem to have lost the audio. I am unable to hear the studio, but what I can do is bring you the visuals from here, from ground zero, where we are seeing the fury of Cyclone Biparjoy. Wind speeds have increased tremendously. I can't even keep my eyes open at this point because of the salt water that is continuously lashing our faces. Rains have also increased. The skies are overcast. IMD says that till tonight rough winds will be expected, even as the landfall of Cyclone Biparjoy continues. As of now, thousands of people have been moved to safety at several rescue centers that have been set up across the coastal areas.
Those were the scenes in Dwarka about 30 to 40 minutes ago. There is nightfall now, but the impact is still visible on ground, which is why Vinaya, my colleague, also joins us live from that very spot. Now, Vinaya, we've seen the kind of situation that has transpired across Gujarat, especially in the last 2 or 3 hours. What has been the impact so far? We've already seen several trees that have been uprooted, several electrical poles that are down as well.
Well, yes, sheds of several tin hutments have also gone up in the air. We have seen a lot of damage that has been caused to the property, especially the kacha houses and the several electricity poles, the loose structures, the hoardings, all have come down. In fact, we are reporting right now, even as Cyclone Biparjoy continues to make its landfall, and even as the wind speeds have kept on increasing over the last few hours, we are seeing that it's becoming almost impossible to stand steadily at one location. Wind speeds have been increasing and so has rainfall been increasing. In fact, the skies continued to be overcast for quite some time before it's turning dark now. Right now, the sea has also grown violent. In fact, the sea is barely 100 meters away from here. But the sea waves are so violent that we can taste the sea salt on our faces and we can feel the sand on our bodies. In fact, right now my raincoat is full of not just rainwater but also sand from the sea. which has been hitting us for quite some time now. We are here in Devbhoomi Dwarka, where damage to property has been reported from several places. In fact, just where we are standing, some time ago an entire structure came down. This was the canopy of a hotel entrance, and it was a glass.
We'll try and reconnect with my colleague Vinaya there. As you can see, she was in the thick of all the action. There is heavy rain that Gujarat is witnessing, especially Dwarka, where Vinaya is reporting from. Connectivity is an issue. There are poles that have been uprooted. There are trees that have been uprooted. There is damage to public and private property as well. I believe Vinaya is back with us. Vinaya, it's nightfall now. The assessment of damage is also something that is going to take a very, very long time.
Well, yes, absolutely. Authorities say it's going to take quite some time till they assess the damage to property. Till now, there is no report of damage to life, though even as thousands of people have been moved to safety in shelter houses. The government said it was zero casualty, which was the goal of the government, but clearly that hasn't prevented damage to property because of the violent winds and the continuous crazy rainfall that we have been experiencing along the coastline. Kutch and Saurashtra continue to bear the brunt of this. They continue to be on red alert. These kind of violent winds and rainfall is expected till midnight at least. Thereafter, we will have to see if the conditions improve. But as of now, yes, the situation is bad, and the administration says it's not just till midnight, but they will have to wait and watch till morning hours tomorrow to understand the damage that Cyclone Biparjoy would have caused. Because remember, this kind of rain and wind, you know, the water will only seep into several structures. It is likely that the structures may come down over the hours, and that is why assessment will have to be done by tomorrow morning, even as reports of several electricity poles, trees and several kacha houses, tents keep coming in through the night. Dwarka itself has reported several such incidents. I am myself standing next to one such rubble, bamboo poles which came crashing down just some time ago due to the violence and fury of nature, the way the winds had been blowing and the way there was rainfall. So this is the kind of destruction we are experiencing all around us. The place where we are staying, the lobby of our hotel, has also seen massive destruction. Lamps came tumbling down, doors and door handles were shattered, walls came crashing. This is something we saw with our own eyes. This is truly the fury of nature. As Cyclone Biparjoy continues to make a landfall, authorities say that this kind of turbulent weather will continue well till midnight, after which we expect that there will be abatement to this wind. At least we will have to see if rainfall will continue or not. But as of now, red alert continues for the whole region of Kutch and Saurashtra, which has seen a Herculean task of evacuation of human beings, but damage to property is likely to be reported from several places, not just in coastal Gujarat but also in Junagadh, maybe in Rajkot. Air services have already been suspended. Several flights were cancelled today. They were supposed to take off today morning. Those flights were also cancelled as the weather conditions continuously deteriorated. Bus services continue to remain suspended. Train services continue to remain suspended. As of now, what we see is massive damage all around us with respect to the poles and the single structures. There is no big incident, fortunately, that has been reported till now. No massive loss of life or incident which has led to loss of life has been reported as of now.
Thankfully, no loss of life at the moment. We can see the difficult conditions you're reporting in Vinaya. Do keep safe, both you and your video journalist as well. And thank you so much for getting us the very latest from on ground, from the thick of all the action there. But we are now shifting focus to the big debate that has come to the fore, and that is particularly about Karnataka. The Congress government in Karnataka seems intent on reversing decisions of its predecessors. Since the government took over a month ago, the state government has made their intent known loud and clear. Today, the Karnataka cabinet met for a crucial meeting, and it was decided that two of the major decisions that were taken by the previous BJP government will be withdrawn. One was to remove certain portions added to the school syllabus, and the other was on the anti-conversion law. I'll take you through both these issues in just a bit, but the political fight is about an overarching thought. The Congress believes BJP's decisions were politically motivated and were to pander to one section of the society. Incidentally, that's the exact reason why the BJP believes that the current dispensation wants to roll these decisions back. In fact, even during a heated pre-election campaign, the BJP, including the Prime Minister, who was the star campaigner of the Saffron Party, had tagged the Congress Party and claimed that they were in reverse gear. The BJP, in fact, said that the state would go into reverse gear if the Congress was voted to power. That narrative, of course, perhaps didn't find resonance with the voters. The Congress is voted to power. They are now in government there. For the Congress, this is a much-needed course correction. So which one is it? Before we open that up, let's deep dive into what exactly the issue is. Now, there is a checklist of the things that the Congress Party in Karnataka has its eye on. There are at least 5 of those decisions. Number 1 was to revise the Karnataka government school syllabus. That has been done. That was the first decision that they decided to repeal. The second decision was to repeal the anti-conversion law. That too, done today in the cabinet meeting. The next, revoking the hijab ban in school. The Congress has been talking about revoking and allowing students to wear the hijab in educational institutions if they want to. That is under consideration. Another contentious law that was brought in by the BJP was the cow slaughter law. It's contentious, I say, because that's what the Congress says, and which is why they want to reverse it. That too is under consideration. Another thing that is under consideration by the Congress Party is that of the national education policy. Remember, when the NEP was brought in, there were several questions that were being raised, not just by the Congress, but many within the opposition, of what exactly the motive was. It was alleged that this was saffronization of education, which is exactly what the Congress also claims. They're now considering scrapping of the NEP altogether as far as the state of Karnataka goes. Now, let's start with the first issue at hand, the war over school curriculum. The Karnataka government has not just removed certain portions, but they've made certain additions as well. Chapters on Savitribai Phule, a poem on Baba Sahib Ambedkar, I beg your pardon, and letters that were penned by Jawaharlal Nehru are added. What's been erased is RSS founder Keshav Baliram Hedgewar's speech. Chapters that were talking about Vinayak Damodar Savarkar have also been taken off. Lessons that were written by Hindutva ideologue Chakravarti Suribere, those two have now been taken off. Next on the list for the Congress government, for the Karnataka government, is the anti-conversion law. A law that has been passed by many BJP ruled states. That too will be withdrawn, says the government, and will be done so on the floor of the assembly when it convenes next. Let's take a quick look at what's transpired so far. In 2021, in December, this bill was adopted by the Legislative Assembly that happened in Belagavi. On 17th May 2022, an ordinance was cleared by the Karnataka governor. The Karnataka government got this anti-conversion law via the ordinance route. 28th September 2022, the Karnataka governor gives his assent to the bill. 21st September 2022, it was passed by a voice vote even as the opposition walked out. So the ordinance was ratified, it then became a bill. 15th September 2022, the Legislative Council passed this bill. 15th June this year, that is today, the Siddaramaiah government has decided to repeal this particular law. There is no space for this law, says the Congress government. Now, the allegation against this act is that it's misused. A particular community is being targeted, and that was the only reason why this law was brought in, is the allegation by the Congress party, which is why they want to revoke it. But Karnataka is not the only government to have brought in this law. Neither is the BJP the only party to do so. Let's take you through all the other states in the country where an anti-conversion law is in place. Beginning with Odisha, it was implemented way back in 1967. Arunachal Pradesh, the law was implemented in 1978. It was never enforced though. As far as Chhattisgarh is concerned, it was implemented in 2000. It was amended in 2006 again. Tamil Nadu, it was implemented in 2002. It was repealed in 2006 when there was a government change. Gujarat, it was implemented in 2003. An amendment came to the fore in 2006. It's still in place there in Gujarat. As far as Rajasthan is concerned, the bills were introduced in 2006 and 2008. They did not get the governor or the president's assent, which is why they were in abeyance. As far as Jharkhand goes, it was implemented in 2017. Uttarakhand, another state, implemented this particular anti-conversion law in 2018. Uttar Pradesh brought in an ordinance in 2020. The bill was then passed in the assembly in 2021, a year later. Madhya Pradesh, an ordinance was brought in 2020. The bill passed in 2021 under the BJP government. Karnataka, it was implemented in 2022, and like I pointed out, it was done so via the route of an ordinance. In Haryana too, in 2022, an anti-conversion law was implemented. So what exactly seems to be the issue as far as Karnataka goes, as far as these two decisions go? Is it about course correction like the Congress says, or is it about vote bank compulsion like the BJP alleges? Let's open that up.
Say Hegdewar, this thing we have taken, taken out. Whatever changes they had done last year and previous year, whatever was there, we have reintroduced, that's all. We have not done anything major about it.
The amendment brought by BJP in 2022 is going to be repealed.
Very unfortunate that Congress always does this by showing RSS, by showing Hegdewar, by showing Savarkar. They want to polarize Muslim votes. Now they want to concentrate on the Muslim vote for the parliamentary election.
Ratan Sharda, researcher of the RSS and an author, joins us on this broadcast. Lavanya Balal, spokesperson of the Congress, also with me on this broadcast. Lavanya Balal, the BJP says that this is not course correction. You're rewriting, retwisting history because you, the Congress party and the government of the day in Karnataka, is trying to pander to a certain vote bank, and this is nothing but appeasement.
Good evening. If you look at the vote share in Karnataka, out of the 73% that voted in Karnataka, Congress party got about 42% of the vote share in the state. Now, while people are voting, Hindus also have voted for the Congress party because they believed in the manifesto promises that the Congress party made. One of the promises that we made was look into these amendments that the BJP had brought about in the year 2022. When they made textbook changes, they made the changes in 2022 wherein Nehru Ambedkar was removed. So what Congress has done is basically bring back whatever was in the syllabus in the year 2021, that is Nehru, Ambedkar, Savitribai Phule has been added, Hegdewar, Chakravarti Sulibele and Savarkar have been removed. We have made preamble compulsory. This is something new that the Congress government has done, and these changes are only in the social science textbook of 9th and 10th standard. We have also made national anthem and state anthem as compulsory. Now, when we came to power, before we came to power, we said we will review all the laws or amendments that were made by the BJP, and if need be, we will revoke them. If you remember the textbook revision phase of Karnataka, it was very tumultuous. I mean, there was a lot of opposition by a section of the media. I mean, big personalities of the media, the authors, poets, artists, a lot of them opposed to these changes that the BJP was bringing in. So when there's a huge opposition for any kind of change, then I think it is the duty of the next government which comes into power to look into these matters.
Sure. Sure, there was opposition, there were changes that were asked, and there's no problem what the additions were made or the things that were brought back, like you said, which were removed by the predecessor government. But why remove the things that have been removed? And what has been removed is only that of Veer Savarkar, of the RSS founder Hedgewar, and a chapter that was written by a Hindutva ideologue. Isn't that a pattern? That is where the problem lies, says the BJP.
Yeah, well, here is my question as a woman. This is one question. Let aside Savarkar's political work. I would like to ask, for a man who's written a book in which he states rape has to be used as a tool against intersection of women to subjugate them. Do you want your children to study about a man like that? I understand in this liberal world, everybody says you should hear every end of the argument, every side of the argument. Fair enough. But do you want your children to study about a man who very famously in his book says rape should be used as a tool against women? I do not want my children to study about that. So it is not a pattern. If we have to take the right decision in the greater good of the state, I think tough decisions have to be taken.
Ratan Sharda, the only chapters that have been removed are of people that do not deserve to be studied. That's the only reason why they've been removed, says the Congress.
See, Congress has been one-eyed person since its birth. It has been since independence. It only believes in one-eyed approach to education, to history, and a very intolerant, very myopic view, where a few families of urban middle-class rich families brought in the independence, forgetting the very long historic record of freedom struggle. Now it is coming slowly, it's coming out. How many people are told about Mr. Shyamji Krishna Verma of Gadar Party, of Raja Mahendra Singh, who actually established Azad Hind Fauj, and so on. I can just keep on naming. Tribal independence struggle, nobody knows. Eastern Front, nobody knows. And when you talk of scientific temper, did only Nehru have scientific temper? Let me just get aside Dr. Hedgewar, Savarkar, because they don't hanker for publicity. They have reached where they are despite all the suppression of historic facts. I will come to something as simple. See, first of all, must object to rape as a tool. She has to produce exact quote and complete reference of that particular para and not defame somebody. Now, coming to more serious issue, does Congress know there was a gentleman called Dharampal? You can tell me when he was born, when he died. He was a Gandhian who wrote Science and Technology of 18th Century way back in 66. He wrote a book on the education system of India way back in 1983. He died in 2006. His books were removed from every shelf, not available. They have been reprinted now. Those were the books which are written on solid references of British documents themselves. Do they know that how much they have told us about INA trials, the naval rebellion in Mumbai, or the Jabalpur rebellion? Because that is what led Attlee to finally agree that we must give freedom. Please read Kalyan De's book, which is based again on British records. So when we don't even talk of that, we talk of Taj Mahal. Did any of these books for last 60 years talked about Ajanta Ellora, the most glorious architectural achievement? Do they talk of Hoysala empires? Look at the traffic that comes to Belur, Halabad, and the traffic go to Taj. How much we know about Cholas, about the seafaring Indians, about the wonderful shipbuilding capabilities? We talk of non-rusting pole in Delhi, but have we ever talked of wood steel or what the kind of wonderful steel we made? No, because we wanted to be shown as backward, poor, orthodox people who had no knowledge, who were horrible. We talked of Pythagoras, we talked about Bhaskar, and we talked of Bodhayan. So none of it. We will not talk of anything which shows Indians having a scientific temper, because for them scientific temper arrived only with Mr. Nehru. That is my basic objection. For 70 years, none of the Congress secular people ever thought it fit to show the positive side of history. The great kings in Karnataka itself, Vijayanagar Empire, how many people have talked about that? How many people go to Hampi? Because there was no arrangement, nothing was done for them, because we have a very poor self-image, and that is what is facing Congress. As to your conversion, you forgot that the first anti-conversion law was brought by Ravi Shankar Shuklaji of Congress in Madhya Pradesh way back in 1950-51 after the inquiry of Niyogi Commission. We will not talk of that. We will not say that we have right to propagate but not right to convert by lure, by fraud or fake means. This bill is typically to satisfy They're minority vote bank.
Sure.
This goes against the interest of Hindus. These are few points I can make. I can talk 100 more things.
Sure.
My objection is, forget the Hedgewar Savarkar. What I just gave a glimpse of what we were. Was it ever included any history books or sociology books or science books or mathematical books? So when we believe that we are not scientific at all, we were useless bunch of people who only reveled in dust and reveled in killing women, then that is what we learn, and that is why we end up with inferiority complex. That is what Congress is carrying.
If I may respond, yeah.
Yes, Ms. Balal, go ahead.
Poonamji, I would like to remind the honorable author. Sir, I studied in a convent school which had state syllabus. I have studied about Chera, Chola, Pandya, Mughal Emperor, Gupta Empire, and I've studied about
all over India. Lavanyaji, if you learn in Karnataka, how much is about Shivaji or Guru Gobind Singh or any of the other warriors? How much did you know about Raja Ranjit Singh? Or how much did you know about Kashmir history? For us, Kashmir starts with Sheikh Abdullah.
Ratan Chadha, you made your point. Let Lavanya Balal get her say as well.
Not to speak over me.
Yes,
sir,
Lavanya Balal. Lavanya Balal, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sir. I've studied about the Kashmir Empire, Kashmir Kingdom as well. I've studied about that as well, sir. I'm not sure which school you have studied. Certainly, the state syllabus school that you have studied in lacks a lot because they have not taught any of this for you.
That was also Congress. That was also Congress or Maharashtra.
So you're a senior gentleman. Please maintain the decorum, sir. You're a senior gentleman. Please maintain the decorum. Also, when we are talking about the anti-conversion bill, I would like to point out that there was a witch hunt in Karnataka by the Bommai government wherein they went ahead and said there was an MLA, BJP MLA, who said there's forcible conversion going on in our part of Karnataka. And then there was a fact-finding committee headed by the Tashildar of the place who came back and said the people who have converted there, who belong to the oppressed communities of the Hindu religion, said they have converted willingly and they are happy after conversion. But then the Tashildar was also penalized, and the BJP government made an amendment that if you, two people of two different religion, you're going to get married, you have to inform the DC 90 days before the wedding. And anybody, it need not be relatives or friends, anybody who says there is an objection, that objection will be taken seriously, and the people who are converting or who will be converting will be penalized, will be questioned, is what the amendment was. So all that Congress government is currently doing is giving their self-respect back to people who want to convert, if they want to convert. There is no forcible conversion. If there is forcible conversion, then the laws are in place.
Sure, the law that was brought in as far as the anti-conversion law is, there were questions that were raised in the manner in which it was brought as well. That it was hastily brought, it was done so through an ordinance route. The opposition walked out when there was an attempt to ratify it in the assembly. The manner in which the law was brought in, that also is something that is an issue, Ratan Sharda, and that is an objection that has been raised by everybody else in the opposition as well, as far as an anti-conversion law is concerned across many other states.
See, that is for BJP to respond why they brought in the law the way they brought in, but I don't believe law is wrong. I believe I have enough evidence to show that there have been forced conversion, there have been conversion with fraud and allurement. Are they okay? They are not okay. So when you give some allurement to a person to convert, when you mislead the person to believe that only because he got Jesus' name he got cured and he was given placebo till that time, that is also fraud. And when you make them do this dance drama and all that you see with those Changai Sabhas, that is also fraud. Will we agree to that? We will not agree. And when I talked about MP's anti-conversion law, that was Congress minister, Congress chief minister, Congress Raj. So this particular issue, and as I said, history book she talked about, madam, I have learnt in Maharashtra, which was under Congress for years together, from donkey's years. I am talking of all India where Congress and seculars are, ruling for years together, where we do not know the glory of our seafarers, we do not know the glory of our chemistry, our mathematics. It was never taught. I have studied science, I have studied arts, I have studied textiles. So I know enough. I have been around. I can tell you this is not known to people across India. You have, when you talk of Karnataka, I am talking of how much an Indian knows about our cultural, our historical, scientific temperament.
So perhaps then is there an overarching need to relook into the education system as a whole, to the kind of syllabus that we have across different states? Is that the solution? Meanwhile, the political war of words continues.
There is no answer.
Those questions are being raised, Ratan Sharda, of the kind of inclusions and exclusions that have been made. But is there an overarching need as far as overhaul of syllabus is concerned? The National Education Policy tried to get in that as well. There's opposition to that as well. Unfortunately, these changes are also coming in at a time when the academic year is right there. Does this not cause confusion among students as well? We're learning something for 2 years, then relearning them. That is also a concern for a lot of parents, for a lot of academicians as well. The timing of all of this, is that ill thought out? That is also a concern that has been raised. But unfortunately, I'm completely out of time and I have to leave it at that. I thank you both for joining us here on this broadcast on The Right Stand. We are slipping into a quick break here on this edition, but on the other side, we have the big debate that's coming up. Is India ready for a uniform civil code? Is it politics that seems to be derailing the need of the hour? That's the big debate.
Of those who are living in kacha houses, they should immediately move to shelter homes which have been constructed by the government specifically in order to withstand the impact of natural calamities like the cyclones. Most importantly, the people should not stand near trees, near electricity poles or near any single structures which are weak and which may come down. So these are the kind of instructions that have been issued. People have been asked to stay ready for an electricity outage if need be as well. Hospitals have been asked to be on standby, specifically protocols which have been put in place in order to make sure that hospitals keep functioning even when there is electricity outage, and there is enough blood supply to several hospitals. These are the several measures that have been put in place, not just in Dwarka, Devbhoomi Dwarka, where I'm standing right now, but in several locations including Kutch, Mandvi, areas around Porbandar, also several places in Jamnagar which are low-lying and which received rainfall yesterday and day before have been kept on standby. So massive deployment that has taken place in several locations here. The NDRF has said that it is constantly watching over the situation and staying in touch with the district administration, which is coordinating efforts for making sure that there are no untoward incidents even as Cyclone Biparjoy makes its headway, even as it comes closer to the coast of Kutch, and as the climatic condition worsens here, not just in Dwarka but around Porbandar, Mandvi and Kutch area as well. So Saurashtra and Kutch have been put on red alert since yesterday. Other places are on orange alert, and rainfall is expected today. The wind speed is expected to continue to surge over the next few hours. In Devbhoomi Dwarka itself, where I'm standing, the speed of wind has increased as compared to yesterday, though right now for a few moments we can see that there is a dip, but it is expected that the climatic situation will only worsen in the coming few hours before Cyclone Biparjoy makes a landfall by today evening at around 7 p.m. There was some rainfall that was happening till a while ago, but right now there is respite.
Well, CNN News 18's Vinaya Deshpande is joining me live from Dwarka in Gujarat, and she is going to bring you all the latest developments from Ground Zero. Vinaya, I hope you are safe there. Could you give us all the details from Ground Zero? Also, could you tell us about the key areas that are going to be affected apart from Gujarat?
Well, we can see that, as the cyclone is progressing towards the coast of Kutch, we are seeing that, more and more winds have started blowing. In fact, we are here in Devbhoomi Dwarka, where the wind speeds have increased substantially. So has the swell in the sea. Section 1 has been imposed in different parts of the coastal areas in order to make sure that people do not come out of their houses and are safe. over 45,000 people who live in low-lying areas and who live in kacha houses have already been evacuated. As we heard that efforts are going on war footing, especially in places like Kutch, Mandvi, Jakhau Port, Dwarka, Porbandar, which are likely to take the brunt of the landfall of Cyclone Biparjoy. As we speak, the sea continues to swell, the wind speed has been increasing, and administration tells us that efforts are on to make sure that there are proactive steps that are being taken in order to minimize the damage that is likely to take place because of the cyclone. So we have seen that already people have been evacuated. Most importantly, several kacha constructions which are expected to get razed due to the impact of the cyclone. These kacha constructions are not just evacuated, but also areas around them are being monitored. Around 100 electricity poles have come down since yesterday in Dwarka district alone, and the administration is trying to repair them. Most importantly, the 73 kilometers of highway which passes through different districts which are currently affected due to the onslaught of Cyclone Biparjoy. That entire stretch has been divided between several agencies which have been entrusted with the responsibility of upkeep, because it's expected that as the wind speed increases, trees might get uprooted, electricity poles may come down, holdings may come down, thereby causing some disturbance for road transport at such crucial juncture. It is important to have
Welcome back. You're watching The Right Stand. The implementation of a uniform civil code has been a long-standing manifesto promise of the BJP. While the Modi government has fulfilled its major poll promises, this one still remains. The centre has reignited the debate over this much-anticipated move once again. Months after the centre told the Supreme Court that the Constitution obligated the state to have a uniform civil code for its citizens, the government has now sought views of the public and of religious organizations. It's the Law Commission, the top advisory body of the government, that has come out and made this public appeal. All stakeholders, anybody from the public, they have any suggestions, they have any objections, they can raise all of those with the Law Commission within a span of 30 days. The move, though, has raised some eyebrows. It comes right before the 2024 elections. It's nothing but a poll plank, says the opposition. There is a fierce face-off that has brewed between the BJP and the opposition. But the question still remains, is it the right time to implement the law? Is India even ready for a uniform civil code? If so, if yes, the answer to that is yes, then is it just politics that is delaying this entire process, delaying the process of equality? That's the big question that we're going to be asking here on The Right Stand as well. Now, as far as the Uniform Civil Code is concerned, it divides on both spectrums, and the divide is extremely large. Let's take a look at what the arguments for and against are. The Uniform Civil Code is a common law for all citizens in the country, as opposed to what the personal law says, that most religions have their separate laws and they're allowed to do so. The Uniform Civil Code envisages that irrespective of your religion, gender, caste or personal law, that you will be uniformly governed. As far as the personal law goes, that law is governed by respective scriptures as well, and that is something that is intrinsic to the practice of your own religion as enshrined in the Constitution, which is one of the reasons why there is objection towards a move for a UCC. So if the UCC is implemented, which are the areas that are likely to have an impact? Marriage, divorce, maintenance, inheritance especially, adoption, cessation of property. All of those will be impacted, because then there will be a common law that governs irrespective of what religion or what community you belong to. Now, a massive face-off has erupted. The politics is all that we've heard, but what really are the sticky points? Now, as far as the entire issue of the UCC is concerned, now for the law, there's equal status that is given to all citizens. Against the law, the argument is that it's difficult due to diversity in India. The argument for the law is that it gives more rights to women, and that is why a level playing field is required. The discrimination towards women must end. But those who raise objections say that this encroaches upon religious freedom, something that is enshrined in the Constitution. Those who are in favor of the law, they say that personal laws have loopholes. Those who say that this is not something that India needs, they say this is nothing but interference in personal matters. Those supporting the law say that the national integration is extremely important, and which is what a common code will bring in. Those who are not in favor say that the time is not suitable for such a reform. Now, the Law Ministry in July 2016 had asked the Law Commission to study the scope and feasibility of implementing this One India, One Law. Here's what Justice B.S. Chauhan-led panel had said in its report. This report came out in 2018. It said that Uniform Civil Code is not needed right now. UCC is neither necessary nor desirable at this stage, is what the Law Commission back then had said. Secularism cannot contradict plurality in India. Cultural diversity cannot be compromised with. That's also an observation that was made by the previous Law Commission. The urge for uniformity cannot be the reason for a threat to territorial integrity. That's also something that the panel had observed. A unified nation didn't necessarily need to have uniformity. Differences don't always imply discrimination. That's also something the law panel back then had said. Now, there is a new Law Commission. They have thrown open the process. Even as the matter is sub judice, the Supreme Court has raised questions on multiple occasions as well as far as what the status of the UCC is. So let's open this up to our panelists who join us on this broadcast. National spokesperson of the BJP, Sanju Verma, is with me. Congress leader Kamru Chaudhary as well. Lawyer and spokesperson of the JJP, Prateek Som, and political analyst and lawyer joining us on this broadcast as well. Let me open this up with Kamru Chaudhary. The Supreme Court has also said that the UCC is an unaddressed constitutional expectation. The Supreme Court has also observed that they hoped and expected that the state shall endeavour to secure for their citizens a uniform civil code. So now that the process of consultation has begun, why raise hullabaloo over it even before the process has begun? All that the Law Commission is doing is seeking suggestions, seeking objections.
Yeah, basically, madam, the first question that needs to be asked in India is uniformity even desirable for a nation that is as diverse as ours? That has been already addressed by the 2018 Law Commission report that came out, and you have rightly read it out everything. I don't need to repeat it. When there is no uniformity in the Criminal Procedure Code, in the Civil Procedure Code, in the Contract Act, even the states have made hundreds of amendments to the CRPC and the IPC, as well as several amendments to the civil laws. Even you can say about the Uniform Civil Code being operable in Goa, but you take a closer study of what's happening with that state in Goa. There are a lot of issues that needs to be addressed before we even go in a right direction towards a uniform civil code in India. Is the time right? If yes, then let's do it. If not, what will be the right time? That's the biggest question.
But isn't that what this panel is seeking out to judge? Isn't that the scope of the panel?
Yeah, Poonam, that's the biggest question. What changed from 2018 to 2013 that we need to 2023, that we need to revisit it again within a span of 4 years. When the Constituent Assembly could not debate and decide on that particular issue and let it remain as it was to have individual laws. Now, when you talk about basically the grounds of the BJP and the right-wing elements in the country is seeking justice for the Muslim women, that's a hypothetical statement they will give you. But basically, you understand that even Hindu laws that were there in 1955, that has been subdivided into 4 different laws.
Yes.
Now you name and you try to understand what are these laws out there. Let's say the Muslim personal law. It is not valid in Jammu and Kashmir because they have got their own traditional laws. You go to Meghalaya, they have got their matriarchal system of governance. You go to Nagaland, they have got their Naga customary laws governing their own policies on their own status. So the basic point is that when you come to the Hinduism, you have got the Mitakshara and the Dayabaga law, which contradict the Uniform Civil Code. Now, how are we going to
which is exactly the point that is being made, Kamru Chaudhary, isn't it? That this does not target one particular community. Like you pointed out, the Hindu community also has varied different laws, and all of them can be brought on one level playing field. That is what the UCC argument, the argument for bringing in a common code is.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
10 seconds I'll take. But basically, Poonam, is not so simple. The agenda here is not to give justice to the women folk or give to justice to the deprived of the country. That basically is to vilify a particular community. That's the main agenda of the government of the day out here. It is.
But who's
If
to
it was
decide
give
that agenda? And I want to get in Sanju Verma as well. Sanju Verma, the timing of this all is also something that is being raised objection to. That 2024 is not far away. So now you've found a new issue to rally the majoritarian community.
Poonam, I need to make a couple of very quick points. My first point is that under Article 44 of the Constitution, wide the directive principles of state policy, Uniform Civil Code is something that always should have been implemented, not today, but decades back. But because directive principles of state policy have not been legally enforceable for whatever reasons, it is precisely because of that reason that today you and me are still discussing the validity of the Uniform Civil Code. So A, it is mandated by the Constitution. B, I would just like to read out in 20 seconds one of the most pertinent judgments with respect to why Uniform Civil Code is needed. And this was by the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court in July 2021, barely 2 years back. She was hearing a case involving a husband and wife who both belong to the Meena tribe. While the husband wanted divorce as per Hindu, Marriage Act of 1955, the woman wanted as per the Special Marriage Act of 1954. And this is what Pratibha Singh said. She said, in modern Indian society, which is gradually becoming homogeneous, traditional barriers of religion, community and caste are slowly dissipating. The youth of India belonging to various communities, tribes, castes or religions who solemnize their marriages ought not to be forced to struggle with issues arising due to conflicts in various personal laws, especially in relation to marriage and divorce. It is time now for the Uniform Civil Code to become law. This is the Chief Justice of the Delhi High Court, Pratibha Singh, in 2021. Now my third and most important point. Forget about the Delhi High Court. There is a landmark judgment which everyone should be aware of, Poonam. This was in 2017 when Justice Kehar was the Chief Justice of Supreme Court. And in a two-judge bench led by Justice Kehar and even Justice Chandrachud, who is now the Chief Justice, there was a case filed by Clarence Pice. He was the lawyer for a case called the Molly Joseph versus George Sebastian case. He said that divorce should be granted in this particular case based on what the church says. And Justice Kehar and Justice Chandrachud said that personal laws are subservient to the Constitution, and while they do not denounce Christian laws, a divorce by the church is invalid, illegal, and only a divorce granted as per the Constitution under the Indian law will be applicable to the Christian community. And Justice Kehar and Justice Chandrachud said repeatedly that while the founding fathers should have made Article 44 legally enforceable, it did not happen. But that does not take away from the sanctity of the Uniform Civil Code. And my last point, let me tell you that today Muslims, just my last point, Poonam, I don't understand why Muslims are crying, whining and sulking. And let me tell you, I've met many progressive Muslims who are actually very welcoming of the Uniform Civil Code. It is only a small minority of Muslims represented by the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, which is nothing but an NGO set up by Indira Gandhi in 1973, who have a problem with the Uniform Civil Code. When you talk to Shia Muslims, they say we want Uniform Civil Code. You talk to Bora Muslims, they say we want Uniform Civil Code.
Sure.
You talk to Ahmadiyya Muslims, they say we want Uniform Civil Code. So who has a problem? It is perhaps the Congress party, which always wants to play on this appeasement vote bank to try and polarize the electorate. Otherwise, I don't think even Muslims en masse have a problem with the Uniform Civil Code, because it is legal, it is constitutionally tenable, and Justice Chandrachud and the likes of Justice Kehar have given a thumbs up to it.
Sure. The problems are many. Whether it's feasible or not, all of that have to be examined. I need to get in the other two gentlemen on the panel as well, but Kamru Chaudhary, you wanted to make a rebuttal, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, it's very wrong, Sanju Verma, to bring in any particular religion out here, because bringing in the uniform civil law according to the Congress party, affects many communities other than on the religious lines. That's another matter that Sanju Verma will be jumping in a chair when I say that Islam was the first religion in the world to give some sort of power and authority to the woman. Folk, even inheritance was also defined in the Quran by the Islamic law.
But Kamru Chaudhary, let me stop you right there, because I don't think that the Law Commission or the government is trying to bring in one particular religion at all. No, that's also what I said at the beginning of this debate, that there are varied laws across sections of this country.
I said to that, I never brought in the religion out here. It was Sanju Verma who brought in the Bohra community, the Shia community, and creating all the divisions. That's what their agenda is. But the Congress party never said that. Congress party is only saying that in a diverse country with so many customary
But why are we talking about the agenda? It's not a BJP exercise that is being carried out. And I want to get in Kapil Madan on that. It is the Law Commission that has asked for objections, suggestions from all stakeholders. The previous Law Commission, in fact, came out and said that the time is not right. We don't need a UCC. It's possible that this Law Commission, after its report, would also say the same thing. So why cry foul even before the process has begun?
Now, Poonam, we need to get into the question of why, the government is doing it. In 2018, first we should understand what has changed between 2018 and 2023. If we go in inquiry of, to seek an answer of this question, we will get to know that this is nothing but a, political gimmick played by BJP to do polarization. And let me give you a legal arguments against UCC. Now, Sanju Verma mentioned that directive principle is a part of the constitution. Yes, of course, it is a part of constitution, and the issue of UCC finds mention in the constitution. But we not forget, there are ample judgments authority of the Honorable Supreme Court that says in order to achieve the directive principle, you can't impinge on the fundamental right. So what essentially the Supreme Court on a number of occasions have said, that directive principles are subservient to the fundamental rights. The fact remains, I will give you another practical example to show why the BJP wants to play it politically only. They don't have any intent to serve the society as such. Now, in our constitution, we have provisions where the reservations are being made on the basis of caste and other backward classes. There are provisions to that extent. Now, if the government really wants to bring the UCC, is the government also intends to revoke those fundamental rights, or to revoke those policy that has prescribed reservation in favor of backward classes? Now, if it is UCC, the UCC should be across everywhere, across every citizen. There cannot be any subclass. Now, the fact remains, in our constitution, in our fundamental rights, which have been upheld, and these issues have been adjudicated in, I don't want to quote and, make it technical, but there are several judgments on the, subject where the reservation was upheld by the court. Now, the point is, if you bring UCC, the entire constitutional history, of our independent nation needs to be revisited. So there is, a plain and clear legal practically difficulty in even bringing the UCC.
And no one is denying that. No one is denying the fact that there will be practical issues. Whether this is feasible or not, that is something that this Law Commission, through its consultation process, will come out and find out. Isn't that the whole point of this exercise? And I want to get in Pratik Som as well. You've been patiently listening to the arguments that have been made. No one is denying, Pratik Som, the kind of difficulties we would face in a country as diverse as ours. But would that is perhaps why we haven't seen a UCC become reality over decades now. But does that mean that India will never be ready to have a law, or that we should completely junk the idea altogether?
See, Poonam, today a difficult question is staring at our face, that India, being a secular state, is promoting uniculturalism instead of multiculturalism. See, we have to know, we must know the historical background, that Uniform Civil Code first gained significance when a voice was raised in 1930s by the All India Women Conference, looking for equal rights for the women, irrespective of religion, in personal laws such as marriage, inheritance, succession, divorce. It was the time when Britishers were ruling India. And why it was not implemented? Because if we see the Constituent Assembly debate, Parliament of India at that sensitive time of framing the constitution, they must have anticipated the imposition of single law upon different religious communities amidst the insecurities of a new nation, Hindu Muslims getting together, and there were insecurities at that time, and hoping for a conducive political and religious environment in India, it was left as a directive principles for the constitution. Now, what is being done and what is not done? So till now, Muslim personal law has not been codified by the parliament except the two acts. One is the Sharia Act of 1937 and one is the Muslim Women Divorce Act of 1986. Now, Poonam, the situation is that judges have to rely on Islamic jurisprudence in a case-by-case manner. I, being a lawyer, can tell you that when there are no codified laws, judges have to rely on the case-by-case manner. Now, through judiciary and legislation, there have been some changes in personal laws. Now, the Hindu Succession Act was reformed in Parliament in 2005. Then the Christian divorce rights were made gender equal in 2001. The courts have... I'm giving opinion on what Mr. Kamru Chaudhary and Kunal had said that yes, the courts have steadily affirmed women's rights of maintenance adoption in various judgments by the Supreme Court. And when the Muslim Talaq Bill judgment was delivered by Supreme Court, central government was advised by Supreme Court for bringing the UCC or giving a comment on it.
Yes.
Then there is a Poonam, there is a political perspective as well which has to be seen. Now, in India, almost 78-79% of population is Hindus, and it is believed that while drafting the UCC, it will cater to its majority. There can be an argument, I am not denying that adoption of uniform civil code will be a move to check the belief of minority population in India. That is for legislature to see and check in the parliament. Now, why uniform system of laws be established in this country in purely secular matters like marriage, divorce, inheritance? After all, the human rights make no distinction between one religion and another.
Absolutely, and that's really the point that is being made for those who are batting for this particular law. Irrespective, there are arguments that are being made on both sides of the spectrum. The objections that are being raised, the suggestions that are being made, the entire exercise for the Law Commission to come out and look at whether it's possible or not, that's the entire exercise. Why create a hue and cry even before that exercise begins? Unfortunately, I'm completely out of time, but I thank you all for joining us here on this broadcast. We're out to Prime Minister Modi's US visit. The countdown has begun. He goes to the United States next week. He will be traveling there from the 21st of June to 24th. This visit is significant for India as major defense deals are expected to be inked between New Delhi and Washington, D.C. In a major defense boost for India, the Defense Acquisition Council led by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh today approved the deal for acquiring Predator drones from the United States of America. That deal is going to be inked when the Prime Minister is there. Let's tell you more about what exactly this arsenal is going to be like. The MQ-9B Sea Guardian is a maritime-focused drone. It can fly over a horizon where satellite for over 30 hours. It can safely integrate into civilian airspace as well. It could surpass any other aircraft in its category is what most analysts believe. They also have advanced systems. They can fully capture motion video. A Sea Guardian can be used in a variety of operations. It's not just necessarily for surveillance. It's also for many other issues.